What's going on, guys? It's Red Bull Tanker, and welcome back to Axis and Allies Europe 1951. This is turn 4. Okay, so beforehand, see, we are now in May of 1951. Our random event went for the Allies this turn. The Allies have formed a German militia army. And they dropped 4 infantry, 1 artillery, and 1 tank. And they used those forces to help build up the NATO forces here. Or they put those forces under NATO control and put them here in Munich. That's where that army card is, in Munich. Alright, to the initiative. So it ended up going the US, the Soviet Union, and then NATO this turn. So that kind of screwed some things up. Well, not really, but all right. The U.S. So the U.S. had 56 to spend. They bought 2 mech and 3 fighters. The 2 mechanized infantry are being flagged. Whoops. The 2 mechanized infantry are being flagged. The 34th Infantry Division, the Red Bulls. Hey, that's my name, Red Bull Tanker. But I guess these are Red Bull Infantry, which, I mean, yeah, we're the 34th Infantry Division today is an infantry division, but we do have armor and mechanized infantry with it too. So there's that. Combat this turn. All right, combat got a little interesting this turn. All right, so first, the U.S. took 2 tactical fighters or 2 tactical bombers out of Reims, and they're strapped from Rome with this fighter flying cover, and they came over here to finish bombing out the factory and try to bomb out the airfield. The Soviets did scramble an air fighter and a tactical out of Istanbul. During the scramble fight, the Soviets did lose a fighter, and the Allies did not lose a single aircraft. And then for both AAA, the Strat made it through, and the 2 tactical bombers made it through. Damage. So the U.S. got 6 damage on the factory and took it out of the game. Wiped it out completely. The only way for the Soviets to bring it back is to pay 20 IPC for a brand new factory. And then for the airbase, the U.S. scored another 8 hits, so the airbase was at 16 damage. Next, the big one. Well, maybe not the big one, but it was big for what happened. All right, then the U.S. took its B-47 that was in North Reims, armed with a nuclear weapon. They attempted to use that nuke against the Soviet forces here in Stettin, and I say they attempted to. So the Soviets did scramble 3 jets out of Stettin, and in the ensuing air battle, the Russians lost 1 jet, and the U.S. did not lose anything. And actually, I think that marker on the jet is wrong. I don't think I took that casualty. So I will have to go back and double check and fix that if I did not. And then, unfortunately for the U.S., the airfield's AAA scored a hit and destroyed the B-47. And because it was carrying a nuclear weapon, the U.S. did roll a dice. If a bomber with a nuclear weapon is shot down, you will roll a dice, and if you roll a 1, that bomb will still detonate, and then you go through the effects. However, luck is on the Soviet side, and the atomic weapon did not detonate when it crashed. Excuse me. All right, non-combats. The U.S. continues to build up the 7th Army here in Marseille. They put most of their air assets into Rome and are moving more of their naval forces throughout the Mediterranean. And then at the end of the turn, the U.S. collected 56 IPC. All right, over to the Soviets. The Soviets had 96 to spend. They repaired the airbase, they bought a brand new factory, and they repaired the airbase here in West Poland. They also bought 3 infantry and a fighter for Turkey. a mech self-propelled gun and tank for Warsaw, and then put an artillery in Smolensk. Combat. All right, well, the Russians did it again. The U.S. attempted to use a nuke on them, so the Soviets decided to strike back. They decided to go for double damage, and they dropped a nuke on West Germany again. There was no scramble, and the AAA from the naval base here missed. And so the damage was NATO lost an infantry and 1 airborne, and the air base was completely destroyed. So if NATO wants a new air base, they'll have to spend 20 IPC to fix it. And then, let's see here. Next, 2 tanks from West Poland, along with a fighter and these 2 tacticals, attacked the lone U.S. tank in Berlin. It was a 1-for-1, the U.S. tank for a Soviet tank. And then coming down here to the Middle East, the Soviets launched a ground/amphibious assault with troops from Istanbul and attacked Israel, or Transjordan. The battle went 2 rounds, and at the end of it, the casualties were NATO lost 2 infantry, a tank, and a tactical fighter, and 2 tactical bombers, and the Soviets lost 2 infantry. On the non-combat, the Soviets shifted a lot of their air force around, as you can see, shifting a lot of air assets, especially moving a lot over here to Stettin, getting that beefed up, keeping Hungary secured. Let's see here. Then also moving a lot of their forces into Stettin and Breslau. Because of the nuke, they still can't reinforce Turnin. So now the Soviets really have to hope they can get the initiative next turn, or else this force is more than likely going to get wiped out by the Americans if they don't go before the Americans. So the central group of forces is finding itself in some hot water. All right. And then at the end of the term, the Soviets collected 95 IPC. NATO. All right, NATO had 76 to spend. They did pretty much the same purchase: 3 infantry and 3 tank, or 3 mech and 3 tank for Paris. They bought 2 mech for Rome, which I did not put down on there. Ah, I missed that. Okay, and then they bought 2 transports over here for London. Combat. There was only 2 things of combat, and it was basically just to get some freebies. This sub came from 18 and killed the 2 transports here that delivered troops, Soviet troops to Transjordan. And then a destroyer and a cruiser initially went in here and killed a Soviet transport there. Non-combat. The Soviets reinforced, or NATO reinforced their fleet here. They brought in a battleship and a carrier as well. They moved one of their carriers back to the English Channel, moved some ships, 2 cruisers and a battleship up north here to keep an eye on the northern fleet. They moved more forces into Munich and Reims. They decided that they wanted to NATO has decided to really consolidate their air force as best they can. So now they're drawing it in and around the area here in France. And then at the end of the turn, NATO collected 67 IPC plus 1 saved. So they actually have 68. And man, I'm really failing with NATO today. Lord, I didn't put out all their stuff. I didn't give them back their money. Lord. Excuse me. All right. Well, that is it. That's going to be it for turn 4, guys. I don't think I missed anything. And we will see you guys next time for turn 5. So until then, guys, as always, take care.